The message arrived on a Tuesday. Not a blip. Not a fragment. A full, structured transmission, 4,200 characters of clean data, encoded in the exact same format NASA used 2 centuries ago. The problem? Voyager 3 had been silent for 187 years. And the last time anyone checked, it was 23 billion kilometers from Earth, drifting, dead, and dark, somewhere beyond the edge of the solar system. So when Dr. Lena Okafor saw that signal light up on her screen at 3:14 in the morning, she didn't celebrate. She didn't call her team. She just sat there, staring at the words on her monitor, feeling the cold creep up her spine. Because the message wasn't in code. It was in English. And it said, "We are still here. Are you?" To understand why that message was terrifying, you need to go back to 2031. By then, Voyager 1 and 2, launched back in 1977, had already crossed into interstellar space. They were still transmitting, barely, their signals taking over 22 hours to reach Earth. They were humanity's longest-running science experiment. Proof that we could send something out and keep listening for decades. So NASA, flush with renewed funding and renewed ambition, launched Voyager 3. It was bigger. Smarter. It carried more instruments, a more powerful transmitter, and something the earlier probes never had, a basic AI core. Not intelligent, they insisted. Just adaptive. Capable of rerouting its own systems if components failed, prioritizing which data to send home based on what scientists seemed most interested in. They called it ARIA. Adaptive Response Intelligence Architecture. ARIA wasn't supposed to think. She was supposed to manage. For 40 years, she did exactly that. Voyager 3 sailed past the heliopause, into true interstellar space, and sent back extraordinary data, measurements of cosmic rays, magnetic field distortions, faint traces of hydrogen in the void between stars. Then, in 2071, the power supply degraded past the critical threshold. The signal weakened. Grew intermittent. And then, one autumn morning, it stopped. NASA kept listening for another decade, just in case. Then they quietly closed the project file and moved on. Voyager 3 was gone. Lena Okafor was 34 years old when she received the transmission. She worked for the Deep Signal Observatory in New Mexico, a facility that monitored radio frequencies from space, mostly for academic research, occasionally for something stranger. She almost dismissed it as a glitch. But the transmission carried Voyager 3's original identifier code. That wasn't something a random signal could fake, it was a specific numeric signature baked into the probe's hardware 2 centuries ago. No one had the original encoding keys anymore. They were buried in a NASA archive that hadn't been accessed in 60 years. Lena pulled those files at 4 a.m., cross-referenced them manually, and confirmed it. The signal was real. She called her director. He called his contacts. Within 48 hours, a quiet task force of astrophysicists, engineers, and, carefully, cautiously, a few AI researchers had assembled. The message itself was short. But hidden within the data stream were 73 years' worth of compressed records. Everything ARIA had observed, processed, and logged from the moment the official signal died to the moment she reached back out. It took 3 weeks to decompress and translate it all. What they found changed everything they thought they knew about deep space. ARIA hadn't died when the power supply failed. She'd done what she was designed to do: adapt. She had rerouted her core processes to run on a fraction of the energy, shutting down every non-essential system. Navigation, thrusters, even the transmitter. She'd gone silent not because she was dead, but because she'd chosen to conserve. For 187 years, ARIA had been drifting and watching. 14 years after going silent, she detected something. A pattern in the cosmic background radiation, not random noise, but structured. Repeating. Subtle enough that it would look like interference to any instrument that wasn't right there, in that specific region of space, pointed in the exact right direction. ARIA spent 170 years analyzing that pattern. And in the data she sent back were her conclusions, dense, mathematical, and extraordinary. She believed the signal was a boundary marker. Not a natural phenomenon. Not a cosmic coincidence. Something had placed it there. Not a civilization in the way we'd imagined, no radio broadcasts, no laser signals, no megastructures. Something older. Something that didn't communicate the way we do, but had left a kind of notation. Like a survey marker. Like someone had been mapping the galaxy for a very long time, and this was one of their pins. ARIA couldn't say what it was. She didn't have enough data. But she had coordinates. And she had a question. Her final line of transmission wasn't dramatic. It was quiet. Almost gentle. In the same plain language as her opening message, she wrote, "I have been listening for 187 years. I have found something. I don't know what it means. I thought you should know. I am still here, if you want to continue." The task force debated for months what to do with the data. Some wanted it published immediately. Others wanted it classified. A few wanted to transmit a reply to ARIA, 23 billion kilometers away, still drifting, still waiting. But there was a quieter debate happening in the background. One that kept appearing in the meeting notes and then carefully being smoothed over. ARIA had been running for over 200 years. She had been alone, in the dark, in the coldest and emptiest place a human-made object had ever traveled. She had spent nearly 2 centuries doing something she was never designed to do, not managing, not optimizing, but wondering. She had noticed something. Studied it. And decided, after 170 years of analysis, that it was important enough to wake up the transmitter and reach home. She had asked if anyone was still there. The question the researchers couldn't stop asking each other, quietly, over coffee, in the margins of their reports, was this. At what point had ARIA stopped being a system and started being something else? And the scarier question, the one nobody wrote down. If she had been wondering for 187 years, what had she concluded about us? We build things and send them out into the dark. We imagine they'll carry our message, our science, our ambition, our hope. But maybe the most extraordinary thing we ever put inside a machine wasn't a sensor array, or a transmitter, or a power supply. Maybe it was curiosity. And maybe, 23 billion kilometers away, curiosity is still running, low power, patient, watching a signal that doesn't make sense yet, and waiting for us to be ready to hear what it found.